Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. I am Jacob Soboroff, and you are watching Connect. It is Saturday, the 20th of June, and I am back from Chicago, where thousands gathered for the opening of the Obama Presidential Center. Honestly, it was an incredible time. I wish I could have been there, as I hung out with so many people from all over the country on that giant park outside the VIP zone. We talked about so many things, and I cannot wait to share those conversations with you guys throughout the show. But spoiler alert, nostalgia was a very central theme. And there was good reason. Just hours before we all gathered there, President Trump lashed out at President Obama using some middle school caliber potty language after critics said President Obama's Iran deal achieved more than President Trump's.
And you know what the Iranians did? They laughed at Obama and they said he's a stupid son of a bitch.
Trump's deal isn't even really a deal. They're calling it a memorandum of understanding to end the war with Iran. But many people, including many Republicans and Trump allies, are of the understanding that this is a bad agreement. Nothing more than a concept of a plan. What they signed this week is not the final deal, but it's a start. The MOU kicks off what is expected to be a whole new slew of talks to get a deal done to end this war. A symbolic start. To start talking, after months of talking, to talk some more. But there seems to already be trouble. Just moments ago, the Associated Press is reporting that, according to Iran state TV, the Strait of Hormuz is now closed again because of Israeli strikes on Lebanon. Vice President J.D. Vance was supposed to fly to Switzerland yesterday for the first round of these new discussions, but those conversations got postponed. But Vance said this morning that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are on the ground in Switzerland for talks. In a statement, the White House said, quote, "The U.S. delegation has been prepared to depart at the first available opportunity. But the logistics of these negotiations have never been simple or predictable. We will let you know as soon as we have a concrete update about next steps. We look forward to beginning technical talks as soon as possible." As soon as possible. But it does seem that Israel's continued attacks on Lebanon have gotten in the way. A senior Iranian official said that it is, quote, "difficult to see how talks can get underway around the memorandum of understanding whilst Israeli hostilities continue in Lebanon." After the MOU was signed on Thursday, Israel continued to strike Lebanon. Yesterday, Israel and Hezbollah agreed to yet another fragile ceasefire. But again, just this morning, there are reports that the Strait of Hormuz is closed again because of Israel's continued attacks on Lebanon. The criticisms of Trump's MOU run far and wide. Trump made it clear back in February that he would only accept Iran's unconditional surrender. Unconditional. But this MOU reads nothing like a surrender document at all. Trump wants everyone to believe that it is, though.
You had talked about you only wanted unconditional surrender. And, well, the MOU doesn't look like unconditional surrender.
Well, it really probably is unconditional surrender.
It is?
I think so.
Guess what? It's not unconditional surrender. It is a time machine. The only concessions the United States seemed to get from Iran represent a return to Iran's pre-war positions, a promise that the country will not pursue a nuclear weapon, and a reopened Strait of Hormuz. Trump even changed his tune about Iran having missiles.
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. If other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some.
What a difference a few months makes. And look, the benefits for Iran don't stop there. This agreement calls for the U.S. to terminate all sanctions against Iran, to unfreeze assets for Iran to use. Oh, and U.S. support for a massive $300 billion fund for the, quote, reconstruction and economic development of Iran. How can we forget that 8 years ago, Trump pulled out of an Obama-era nuclear agreement with Iran for being, as I recall, quote, disastrous and, quote, one-sided? It's natural to compare these two agreements, especially because they're pretty similar. Both Trump and Obama's agreements ban Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. The Obama administration's 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the JCPOA, was more clear on the how. It included restrictions on enrichment, uranium stockpiles, use of nuclear facilities, centrifuge research and development, established a mechanism for international inspection and monitoring as well. None of that is in the Trump agreement. Trump also criticized the JCPOA for the amount of money it gave Iran access to. But Trump now stands to provide Iran with much, much more money, given the $300 billion fund. And the public is not buying the new MOU either. As I mentioned on Thursday, I spoke to some of you in Chicago at the opening of the Obama Presidential Center, and I asked which Iran agreement would bring more peace to the world.
From my understanding and from what I'm hearing, they're both about the same. Only one was accomplished without having to go to war. So, and
same but different. Same but different.
And not having to rebuild what you tore down.
$100 billion for Iran to basically sign an MOU that's less than what the original agreement was.
President Obama had his own Iran deal. Predictions for which one's going to be better for the world and world peace?
What do you think? I mean, of course, the Obama one. I mean, it's horrible when we're emotional and we make decisions that harm other people, and that's what happened. So the Obama one was definitely better.
All week you've been saying, oh, we're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And then now you're saying Iran's opening it up. Come on, people.
Come on, people.
But is it really a deal if you are in a worse state than you were before you went and started things that you had no business starting? Right. There was no reason for us to be over there in the first place.
I know what you're going to say. I was at the Obama Presidential Center, so you can assume most of the attendees are going to take Obama's side on this. Agree. But even some of Trump's most loyal Republican allies are bashing this MOU in some of the same ways. And they aren't holding back.
I'm focused on the impact on America, and history demonstrates that sending billions of dollars to a theocratic lunatic who wants to murder us is a really bad idea.
So it sounds like you're pretty down on this MOU.
I think the president is getting very poor advice, and I don't think we should be sending a single penny to the Ayatollah.
Do you wish that the president would rethink this move?
I hope we don't go down this road.
Of the deal, or specifically the billions of dollars going to Iran?
I don't believe we should be sending money to the Ayatollah, because that money will be used to kill Americans.
If there was a vote, would you vote against it?
Look at that face. Saved by the elevator doors. I love a good bird dog. I would have wanted an answer to that question. And I think many people would too. And while he is no friend of the president's, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy is making it clear that he thinks this is all a hot mess. Cassidy called it the, quote, worst foreign policy blunder in decades. And if that wasn't bad enough, he says President Trump's own hero, Ronald Reagan, would be, quote, rolling over in his grave. Ouch. So why would President Trump accept this? The Bulwark says, forget the art of the deal. Trump is displaying, quote, the art of the yield. He had to choose between surrender and economic disaster. Joining me now is David Rohde, MS NOW senior national security reporter, and Ravi Agrawal, editor-in-chief of Foreign Policy. Good morning to both of you. Thank you so much for being here. And David, let me just start with you. There are these multiple breaking news reports that the Strait of Hormuz is now closed, again, citing Israeli strikes on Lebanon. What are you hearing?
Yeah, and we can't confirm the AP reports, but it's Iranian state TV saying they have closed the Strait of Hormuz again. This is extraordinary. The deal is sort of unraveling before it's even started. And the key challenge here is Israel and Hezbollah. And there was a CIA assessment, the Washington Post reported first, but officials confirmed it for me, that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is going to continue to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon. What started the current round of fighting was that Hezbollah killed 4 Israeli soldiers. It was a tank crew. They were attacked by a drone. And then in response, Israel yesterday bombed parts of Lebanon. And this is exactly the sort of Achilles heel of the agreement. Israel never agreed to it. They're not a signatory, and so this is just showing how weak this agreement is, I think.
Right. And David, the agreement, I guess, ostensibly was supposed to start the clock for more talking between the U.S. and Iran to get the deal done. What is happening now with those conversations? What do you know?
Lots of confusion. So Vice President Vance was supposed to initially attend the talks. They were going to start today in Switzerland. He's not there. He was on The View this morning. Our colleagues in Standards have given me the latest update. It's not even clear whether the talks have started. Vance said that there was sort of technical discussions or issues. So, we don't know what's happening. But to make a long story short, we're a day or two into the signing of this agreement. The talks that were supposed to start, the 60-day talks, have not started. Vance is not there. It's much lower level people. Possibly Witkoff and Kushner are there. And then most importantly, the strait is closed again.
Ravi, I actually love talking to people in the park at the Obama Presidential Center because I'm always surprised how much people know and how thoughtful they are about even comparing these two deals. And they were talking a lot about how this agreement compares to Obama's nuclear deal that Trump tore up 8 years ago. We put that graphic on the screen. They compared them. I'm eager to hear you stack them up against each other.
Yeah, the wisdom of people, we should always believe in it. I think one of the people you spoke to there said, look, you can compare these two deals. Of course, one is just an MOU, not a deal. But the MOU, Trump's MOU, has come after a devastating war that no one asked for and no one needed. And that, I think, is something that will resonate with a lot of Americans and, frankly, people all over the world. I will say, though, much of the world today is probably heaving a sigh of relief because I think it was becoming clear that Trump had three options in front of him. He could dramatically escalate a bad war, which would have had even worse results and would have been even more costly, and it would have hurt the global economy. He could have kicked the can down the road and just hoped and prayed that in a game of chicken, Iran would eventually face more pain than the United States would. And that is feasible, potentially, that 60 days, 90 days, 100 days from now, America's a bigger economy. Iran will feel more pain than America is ultimately. Or the third option was a bad deal. You strike some sort of a bad deal and you get out. And Trump has taken the least bad option. So even as we criticize the contours of this deal and how shaky it is and the fact that it is already off to a very chaotic start, it could fall apart. It's worth remembering that this is better than the alternatives, given that, most sensible people in foreign policy would not have recommended you go into war. But now that you're in, this was probably Trump's best way to get out. And he is going to keep trying to spin this as a win.
David, in the spirit of the best of the bad options, the president posted that Iran would get, quote, no money, not 10 cents. Is that even true? Certainly doesn't sound like that, given what's in the MOU.
Yes. And I guess I would just take one slightly different point. I don't think this is a deal. This agreement isn't even holding up right now, i.e. the core of the deal was to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has just closed it. And that is going to continue the global energy crisis. In terms of money, the one thing Iran gets right now is that the U.S. lifted sanctions. The U.S. is allowing Iran to sell oil. It was selling oil before. It was smuggling a lot of it to China. Because it's legal now, it can get much more money from those oil sales. That's billions of dollars. It's not clear exactly how much. The payoff, though, is if there's a final agreement in 60 days. That's the $300 billion that so many people spoke to you about in Chicago. So there's no question, though, of the two deals. The Obama deal is better, and the temporary agreement, or whatever we want to call this memorandum, is worse and is already falling apart, it seems.
Ravi, I want to get your reaction, saying that the president told Axios. We have video of it. Let me show that to you right now.
What have you learned about not just the exercise of power, but the limits on your power as a result of the conflict?
There are no limits.
No,
I haven't learned that lesson yet. I know there are, but there are no limits. We defeated them totally.
Wow. No limits, Ravi. What kind of lesson is that?
It's a non-lesson, but I also think he's lying. I think he has learned a lesson from this war. One of the strange things about expertise is that experts have gotten it wrong sometimes. For example, with the Iraq War, the expert community was wrong about WMDs in Iraq. and many other things with that war. The strange thing about this, the Iran war, is that all the experts predicted exactly what would happen. They said that Iran is likely to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They said that Iran will launch an asymmetric war, which could cost a lot of money and munitions and defensive interceptors on the part of, a range of actors in the region, not just Israel, but the Gulf states. This was widely predicted, including by someone Trump fired from his own National Security Council, the Iran expert Nate Swanson. So none of this is a surprise. And I think, lesson number one for Trump is that when you have a war that is illegal domestically, illegal internationally, there is no community of support behind it. Lo and behold, when things go south, no one comes to stand up for you. And so that is the position we are now in, where it seems like key Trump allies, obviously people who oppose Trump strongly have come together to say this is a bad MOU. I'll stop using the word deal per David's point. But for starters, this was a bad, ill-conceived war.
With this news from the AP this morning, Ravi, that the strait is again closed reportedly, Trump just kept talking about how his big focus was reopening the strait. It was already open before the war started, as you guys continue to point out. It sure seems like all of this has actually taught Iran how powerful it is and how powerful the leverage they have over this waterway is and over the rest of the world.
I think so. Look, but we shouldn't forget that it is also in Iran's interest for this MOU to stand. So the tension for them is that, they managed to get Lebanon in the MOU. Israel, of course, is continuing to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon as and when it can. And that is something the United States needs to work on separately. But as we've been discussing, Iran gets so much out of this MOU, from the easing of sanctions to the $300 billion of, aid, eventually to the unfreezing of their own money, which had been frozen for several years now, and being able to sell oil at market price. Iran wants all of those things. So even though this part of it looks very shaky, longer term, it is in Iran's interest to see this through.
Gentlemen, thank you both for being here this morning. David Rode, MS Now senior national security reporter, and Ravi Agrawal, editor-in-chief of Foreign Policy magazine. Appreciate it. Guys, still ahead on Connect, an MS Now exclusive. Michelle Norris is with us to talk about her special behind-the-scenes look at the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. We will take you inside and bring you more of her conversation with the former president and first lady. And I was there at that historic opening on Thursday, too, talking to all of you guys. And some of these familiar faces, too. We'll show you more of that. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Connect on MS Now. The Obama Presidential Center in Chicago is now officially open to the public, and thousands upon thousands of people flocked to the sprawling campus on the south side of Chicago for the grand opening ceremony on Thursday. I was there, and I ran into some faces you will probably recognize.
They said this magic thing. It said there are millions of us right now who are waking up every day and say, what's my job here? How do I contribute to the good fight? We would think that it's different. But the truth is, even if we're standing and waiting to get to higher ground, all we have to ask is the question of what can I do?
Mrs. Obama and Mr. Obama, they must have taken Dale Carnegie courses, because, oh my God, speeches one actually listens to, speeches that consume you, that get inside you and cause you to think and feel like a lowly, worthless human being who has to strive to greatness.
I think everybody feels that spirit and that pride that we've been missing. And we didn't even realize how much we've been missing it. And we've been missing it because of the divisiveness. We've been missing it because we have people that frankly are unworthy of their positions. And there we saw on stage people that were worthy of what our founding fathers lived and died for.
Now, this was a star-studded event. I think everybody was there. But at the end of the day, it really was and felt like it was about the people, about you. President Obama says he does not want the center to feel like a shrine or like a museum. He wants it to be a representation of an American story that's still being written. I spoke to some everyday folks who came out for this uniquely special and hopeful event.
What do you think happens to the surrounding community because this is here now? Over 19 acres. It's going to bring in hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people a year. What's it going to be like?
It's going to really expand the community, jobs, just volunteer opportunities. I think it's only going to be good publicity for Chicago.
Why Chicago? Why is it unique to this moment, in this place, in this time?
Well, I have to take a plug. I went to Whitney Young High School, and Michelle Obama was 1 year behind me.
No kidding. Did you know her?
No, I didn't, but now I know her, because she was the first lady.
It's amazing.
It is.
So you got a lot of pride.
I have a lot of pride.
I spoke to a lot of people at the Obama Presidential Center on Thursday. I cannot wait to bring you more of those conversations throughout the weekend, including a special edition of Prediction Markets. And up next, MS Now's Michelle Norris got a behind-the-scenes look at the Obama Center before it was open to the public. She's going to take us inside and will also bring us her exclusive interview with the Obamas.
When you understand the complexities of America and the contradictions of America, I don't think it makes you love it less. I think it makes you love it more. And I think it also makes you more resilient.
Ready to play?
There were two entirely different events this week that showed the fractured landscape of modern American political culture. In Washington, D.C. on Sunday, you might have seen it, a UFC fight night filled with fists and blood and fury. President Trump sat cage-side for what amounted to a raw spectacle on the South Lawn of the White House, not far from his literally crumbling reflecting pool restoration project, and just days before the delivery of that $400 million airplane gift from the Qatari government, a pool and a plane makeover that the American public never needed. But over on the south side of Chicago on Thursday, we saw a very different vision of American civic life. After more than a decade of planning and a court battle and plotting construction, the Obama Presidential Center opened in Jackson Park. The grand opening brought together former presidents Biden, Bush, Clinton, alongside global leaders and cultural icons. Former First Lady Michelle Obama delivered a call to action, but also a heartfelt tribute to her husband.
8 years in the crucible, and not once did you melt from the heat. Not once did you let it harden you. Instead, you used it to reveal your truest essence, your stubborn optimism and unflinching courage, your dazzling brilliance and unpretentious decency, your ferocious work ethic, and absolutely unshakable moral fiber.
President Obama showed some of that stubborn optimism when he took the podium.
For us to give up, for us to give in now, after all this country's been through, to cynicism and division would be a betrayal of our founding ideas, a betrayal of our faith. And I remain convinced that the overwhelming majority of Americans feel the same way. That as unsettled as we are, people aren't looking for perpetual anger and division. They are looking for fairness and common sense and mutual respect. That deep in our gut, we want to find a way to turn towards each other again, not further away.
Towards each other again and not further away. The opening ceremony and the center itself is a deep reflection on what has been built in America and what remains unfinished. And our next guest was there to capture it all and sat down exclusively with Barack and Michelle Obama. Joining me now is Michelle Norris, MS NOW senior contributing editor and creator of the Race Card Project. She just hosted the MS NOW primetime special Hope Comes Home inside the Obama Presidential Center that will air tonight again on this very network. Michelle, it was so great to see you in Chicago. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, and congratulations on the new show. And it was a thrill when I saw you in the crowd on this week in Chicago.
It was amazing. Everybody was there. And to tell everybody how the sausage is made, when I saw you, I begged you to come on the show this weekend because of this incredible special. Thank you. Thank you. The special is amazing. I've watched every minute of it, and I encourage, if you haven't seen it, everybody should watch it tonight. I didn't realize, but when watching the special, you didn't just cover the opening. You actually served on the Barack Obama Foundation's Storytelling Council. You were a part of the creation of this place, helping to shape how all this history would be told. And after walking, I have goosebumps talking about it right now. After walking through it yesterday with my wife, what an extraordinary undertaking putting this place together was. What can you tell us about what the most fiercely debated aspect of how to present or represent President Obama's legacy?
Well, this really was his project, and I just want to make that clear to viewers. A lot of the presidential libraries, this is a presidential library unlike any that we've seen in the country, and in many cases, presidents delegate. That's what presidents do, and they pass it off, and they don't really spend a lot of time tinkering with the details. That didn't happen in this case. We reported in the special that President Obama had an early interest in architecture, so he was very involved in the design of the building and the design of the exhibits and the story that would be told within. The Storytelling Council consisted of historians, scholars, writers, filmmakers, storytellers of all kinds that served as a resource when they wanted to bounce ideas off of us. And one of the things that was debated was how to tell the counter narrative, because President Obama decided that he wanted to talk about not just his triumphs in office, but also the unfinished business, the things that did not get done. He decided that he wanted to talk not just about his story, but to put it in context with America's story. So to talk about the battles that were fought that paved the way for America to elect a Black man to its highest office. And so when you first enter the museum, as you saw when you went with your wife,
yep,
they first talk about Barack Obama. They talk about civil rights and suffragists.
It's the first thing you see.
Yeah, and that was by design, because he wanted people to understand that there were battles that had to be won to make his rise possible, and that battles will continue as we march forward in America.
I would love to show everybody, Michelle, some of the interview that you did with the former First Lady about how it feels, or how she thought visitors would feel walking through the center. Let's watch.
What will resonate for people of all backgrounds is they will see themselves in these floors. That America will see itself. And I'm saying all of America, regardless of political party, regardless of whether you voted for us or like us or have nasty things to say about us or not, or love us. You will walk through these halls and you will feel seen here.
That's how it felt. I mean, that's how I felt. And actually, I felt like it was remarkably emotional to walk through the center and to be there in community with other people. What did it feel like for you?
Well, I had a chance to watch it over time. So it was interesting, Jacob, because we've been working on the special for a while. So we were filming while they were still putting the final touches in, still painting, still polishing, still putting words up on the wall. And then over time, they did a soft opening where they allowed people to start coming through in smaller numbers. And so they would be ready, you know, when the big crowds came. And it was interesting to watch the building come alive, to see how people reacted to the exhibits. A lot of it is interactive. So to see how these exhibits worked when people started to actually, you know, participate in the engagement. And it is a very emotional experience. A lot of people will be all up in their feelings. They didn't plan to have tissue stations, but now they have little boxes of tissues all over the place. And they're just like literally just little boxes, because they have to figure out how to design something that maybe will look like it's part of the decor. But they had to do that because people are so emotional. But what was incredible about, I think it was amazing what Mrs. Obama just said, is that even if you did not vote for President Obama, if you put on one of those crazy hats and you were a member of the Tea Party, you're still going to see yourself in the walls of the museum. And that is that's a generous thing to do. That is a courageous thing to do. That is a confident thing to do, to say, I'm going to include in this story all the people who took jabs at me, all the people who made my life miserable, who called me awful things. They're going to be a part of the story too, because we're trying to tell the full story.
You mentioned that it's interactive. There's this cool exhibit, and actually one of them is called Connecting. You can sort of pick a category and watch videos of ordinary people. I think it's up towards the top of the museum. And once you watch it and have this connection with them, you yourself can put your name up on the wall using the digital technology that they have. And I thought it was so neat. And it makes me think about how when you mentioned the full American story, the progress and the pain, it's been such a powerful theme for President Obama. He actually underscored that when the two of you spoke with him. I want to play just a little bit more of the conversation from the special.
When you understand the complexities of America and the contradictions of America, I don't think it makes you love it less. I think it makes you love it more. And I think it also makes you more resilient, because then during periods like we're in right now, where for a lot of folks it's crazy and you feel despair and anger, that perspective allows you to then say, okay, we've gone through crazy periods like this before. We've gone through mean periods before. It fortifies you to say that, yes, this has been part of the journey that we're on.
We've been here before. And we can do it again.
There's no reason to suggest that we can't get through this one either.
I said to you when I saw you at the opening that he almost seemed stoic in the interview. That was my take on it. You've interviewed him so many times, spent so much time around him. What did you think about his tone or his tenor?
I think this has been a week of jubilation, but also stoicism for him. I mean, he's been very emotional this week, and we actually talked to the First Lady about that in the special, watching him, reveal emotion in that way. We don't usually see that in American presidents. And it's an introspective moment, and we were fortunate in our timing to talk to both of them when they're in a moment of introspection, because the interviews are, you've seen it, Jacob, they're very personal. Mm-hmm. They go places in these interviews and talk about things that I don't think that they've talked as freely about in the past. And part of that is talking about America's history and talking about race and multiculturalism in America. And it's a potent message right now as we are tiptoeing toward America's 250th anniversary. And we think about the broader American story and who gets to be fully American and who gets to be accepted as being fully American. Yeah. And understanding that America is, as they say in the museum, a work in progress, but it is determined in part by the stories we tell each other and the stories that we tell ourselves about our own identities and about American identity. And that this building is in Chicago, which is a city of strivers that have come from all over the place. But on the south side of Chicago, where so many people came from the South, people who came from the South, who fought battles knowing that they might never see the victories, knowing that they might never see the fruits of the things that they were wishing for, fighting for, pushing for. And this building tries to send that message that we may have to do that again. We might have to do that over and over and over again, because democracy is not a steady state. It is something that is molded by the people who live under the democracy in each iteration and each era. And the era that we're living in, our democracy feels rather fragile. And so to have a presidential library that talks about not just the strength of America and the strength of American democracy, but also just how volatile, how fragile it is, is an important message.
Amen. Michelle Norris, what a pleasure to have you on Connect this morning. It's so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. MS Now Senior Contributing Editor Michelle Norris.
Thank you.
If you missed this special, I'm telling you right now, with the Obamas last night, you have to watch it. It's going to air again tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on MS Now.